Welcome to my channel Adhyan with Flow. Our today's topic is reflex action or reflex arc. We can betterly understand reflex action by this diagram. This is well organized. Very beautiful diagram. Very beautiful. This is the stimulus come from surrounding, and here they contain receptors. This receptor likes our muscles. They sense the stimulus, and receptors further connected with afferent pathway. What is afferent? Those pathway who conduct, who transmit stimulus tissue to CNS. We can also call it as a sensory neuron. Okay, this is the pathway. Look at here. This is the afferent pathway. They can transmit the signal towards the CNS. Next, then CNS read this message, encode this message, and transmit their message or convey their message to motor neuron. Motor neuron. Here is sensory neuron, here is motor neuron. They take their signals, message, and provide to the particular tissue. By which pathway? By efferent pathway. What is efferent? They convey or transmit signal CNS to tissue. That's it. CNS to tissue. They convey, this pathway convey, transmit the signal towards effector organ, CNS to target tissue. And afferent, what they do? They convey message tissue to CNS, and this is efferent is CNS to tissue, and the motor neuron gives the message to muscles, and the muscle cells give response. I repeat once again by flowchart. Look at here. Stimulus come from environment. Okay. Sensory neuron accept this signal by their receptor. This stimulus work as a ligand, and sensory neurons work as a receptor. Simple. These are dendrons, and these are signaling molecules. Receptor and sensory neuron convey their message, transmit their message by afferent pathway. Afferent pathway, and afferent pathway transmit signal towards CNS. Then what happen next? Then CNS transmit their coded message to motor neuron, and motor neuron transmit their message by efferent pathway. This pathway, what they do? They transmit signal from CNS to effector organ, muscles, and finally response over there. So this is the flow chart. You can betterly understand what is the reflex action, guys. What is the reflex action? The entire process of response to a peripheral nervous stimulation that occur involuntarily. This action is not in our control. This is controlled by PNS without consequence, effort or thought, and require the involvement of part of central nervous system is called reflex action. This is a definition of reflex action. The reflex action pathway comprise at least one afferent neuron, means receptor, and one efferent and efferent, effector or exciter. They get the signal and they effect and transmit the signal. I think I describe all the things. Let's move further. There are more than one sensory organs, sensory reception and processing. There are more than one. Look at here. Sense organ like nose. They sense, what they sense? Smell. By which receptor? Olfactory receptor. Means at nose buds, they have, these are nose cells, they have their olfactory receptors. If taste signals come, then they bind with olfactory receptors, and are olfactory receptors cells connected with CNS. Then we can identify which kind of smells there, any fruit, any vegetables. All right. These are made up of olfactory epithelium that consists of three kinds of cells. The neuron of the olfactory epithelium extend from outside environment and directly into the pair of broad bean-sized organ called olfactory bulb, which are extension of the brain limbic system. They are attached to limbic system. Now, next sensory organ is tongue. They sense taste, they sense smell, because we have taste bud on our tongue. And what kind of receptor over there? There is gustatory receptor over there, so we can taste anything. Okay, now it's time to eye. What is the use of eye? For vision. For vision. Okay, the eye, one pair eye, where it located? This is located in socket of skull orbit. Okay, first of all, eye made up of three layers. Listen to me. Eye made up of three layers, composed of three layers. Okay, outer layer. Outer layer, we can call it as the outer layer is sclera. They contain what? They contain connective tissue. What are the example of connective tissue? Like bone, cartilage, blood. Okay, sclera. One layer is clear. One layer is clear. The anterior part of sclera, we call it as a cornea. Okay. Now the next layer is, middle layer is choroid. Now next layer is choroid. It contains many blood vessels. Correct. Eyes made up with three layers. First outermost is sclera. Second middle layer is choroid. And third, look at here. Here, retina, inner layer. Alright. The third layer is retina. Now look at here. Look at here. Let me remove. Now our outer layer, we call it as a sclera. This is our outer layer. Outer layer. Clear, guys? And choroid. This is the our innermost layer. This is the middle. And retina. This is our internal layer. Inner layer. This is fluid with their liquid. Extension of choroid is making ciliary body, responsible for contraction and relaxation, both the side. This is iris, extra finger like projection. This is the lens. This is a crystal part of our eyes. This is the crystal part of our eyes. This is made up of alpha crystalline gene. Do you know why we have two eyes? This is our brain and this is eyes. Okay, how that we have two eyes? Some person, defective person, have also one eye, because during embryonic development our body secrete one gene, PAC6, sonic hedgehog. These genes, what they do, they divide, separate eyeballs. All right, guys. And here no sonic hedgehog, so no separation of eyebuds, nothing. This is the fovea part, this is the blind spot, and this is the optic nerve. They connected with CNS, brain part, by occipital lobe. Occipital lobe. This is not in your book, I'll give you extra. Okay, let's complete. Extension of choroid further anterior part to form ciliary body. I already covered this. This is the ciliary body. They're useful for contraction and relaxation. Alright, guys. Next, the iris, which is the visible colored portion of the eyes. Alright, the eyeball contain the transparent crystalline lens. I already told you. Which gene responsible for lens formation? Alpha crystalline and PAC6, which is held in place by ligament attached to ciliary body. This is attached, very fixed. Okay, in front of the lens, the aperture surrounding by the iris is called pupil. The diameter of pupil is regulated by muscle fiber of iris. Clear, guys? The inner layer is retina. We know this. It contains three layers. Okay, it contains three layers. Inside, ganglion cell. Middle, bipolar cell. We already discussed what is the bipolar. What is the bipolar? One dendrite, one axon, and other one is photoreceptor. Very important. Photoreceptors are very, very, very important. The name of the photoreceptors are rods and cones. Look at here. Two types of receptor, photoreceptor, are there. Why I called photo and receptor? Because these receptor receive what? Light, photon. Clear, guys? They receive light divided into two parts, rods and cones. Especially rods useful for vision. It distinguish vision, and cones, it is useful for color distinguishing. Okay, different color experience. Okay, this is useful for color and this is for vision, which is red color, which is blue color. Cones distinguish betterly. Also, they useful in vision, no doubt. Also, they useful in vision. But these rods and cones, they useful for basically they using for vision and color identification. These cells contain light sensitivity protein called the photopigment. Of course, they have such a pigments like photopigment. They receive light. The daylight, phototopic vision, and color vision are function of cones, and the twilight, scotopic vision, is the function of the rods. In daytime, in the daytime, cones perform better, and in the nighttime, rods perform better. At night, this is the daytime. All right. The rods contain a purple red protein called rhodopsin or visual purple, which contain a derivatives of vitamin A. Look at here. This is the membrane of rod cell. This is the membrane of rod cells. What they have? They have rhodopsin molecule. What they do? What they do? They bind with photon. They bind with photon and transmit their signal. They transmit their signal. This rhodopsin is made up with vitamin A. So consume vitamin A for better vision. This convey their signal, then signal passing and goes to nucleus that I saw Abhitav Bachchan. Then signal vision will form. Okay. In the human eye, there are three types of cone which possess their own characteristic photopigment that respond to red, green, blue. Especially are rod and cones made up for respond for basically three color: red, green, and blue. The sensation of different color are produced by various combination of these cones, and I already told you cones distinguish between the colors. When these cones are stimulated equally, a sensation of white light is provided. When the cones are equally activate, then white light visible. Okay, what is optic nerve? Leave the eye and retinal blood vessel enter at a point medial to slightly above the posterior pole. Look at here. This is the eye. This is the anterior pole. This is the posterior pole. This is the anterior, posterior, dorsal, ventral. Alright, guys. Alright. So optic nerve present here. Here a blind spot is present. Look at here. Here a yellowish blind spot is here. Eyeball photoreceptor cell are not present in the region. Here blind spot, not, no photoreceptor absent. But at the posterior pole of the eye lateral, here a blind spot is present. A blind spot is present, yellowish. We call it as a fovea. They contain photoreceptor. Means blind spot does not have any kind of photoreceptor, but fovea have receptor. The fovea is a thin out portion of retina where only cones are densely packed. It is point where the visual acuity is greatest, highest vision power, because cones are high and cones are work in daytime battery. The space between the cornea and the lens is called aqueous chamber. This eyeball is completely here filled with aqueous chamber. They give fluidity, so that's why their membrane never collapse, and the eye center part covered with vitreous chamber and filled with transparent gel called vitreous humor. Now this is the mechanism. This is the mechanism of vision. How? This is the rod cell, cone cells, plasma membrane. Here, photon means light. This is work as a stimulus. Then our rhodopsin. Rhodopsin. Activate. Rhodopsin. Activate. Then what they do? They convey their message. They convey their message by secondary messenger. And this secondary messenger less in number, so they can't open the channels. So outside sodium can't enter inside. So inside negative charge increase because no positive charge enter inside. So cell become hyperpolarized. Then vision we can saw. But in the absence of light, this is the plasma membrane. When no light, then no signal transduction. CAMP and CGMP high in cell, secondary messenger high in cell. What they do? They bind and open the channel so sodium ion can enter inside and cell become polarized and depolarized in nature. Then what happen? So no vision. No vision. I draw a flow chart for you guys. I make a flow chart for you. Where? Okay, let's draw here. Light work as a stimulus, work as a ligand, bind with rhodopsin. Okay, then rhodopsin transmit the signal towards secondary messengers. Secondary messengers like CGMP, calcium, IP3, CAMP, but they are less in number. They are less in number because of light. So they cannot activate channels, pumps, carrier, transporter molecule of the plasma membrane. So sodium ion, positively charged ion, can't enter in cell. So cell become hyper polarized and weaken so easily. Vision. But if no light, if no light, if no light, so no binding, no transmission, secondary messenger high in number, secondary messenger high in number, they open channel and sodium ions enter and the cell membrane become depolarized and vision not form. This is all about, guys, mechanism of vision. All right. Now in next video we will cover ear. So if you like my lecture video, then please subscribe, keep supporting me. Thank you for listening me, giving me such a time. Keep smiling and keep revision, just revision. Thank you so much.